Now, one more thing that we need to talk about with our client before we really move on to nailing down the engagement is to clarify the purpose. It's very easy to assume because somebody's asking for coaching that there's a need and we should just get going, get started. But believe me, that leads to all sorts of problems later on with misunderstandings, misunderstood expectations, and so on. It's really very, very important and healthy to get some clarity of purpose. What's the coaching really for? And ideally, I think it's really good to narrow the focus of the coaching down. There may be all sorts of things people may be wanting just to develop as a leader or develop as a whole person, which is all well and good. But we've got to start with, we've got to boil it down to the key triggers that will help them to make those changes, or the blocks, the things that are stopping them from making those changes, and to get some clarity on the ideal outcome. You know, if they could learn how to handle conflict in a much more constructive way, for example, then what would be the outcome? What would be the benefit of doing that? What would be the payback when they've made those changes? So how do we do this? Well, first of all, we've got to ask the client straight up, you know, what is it that you really want to work on or get out of this? They may not be very clear. So and previously I've talked about doing a values exercise, working out what's important to the client. It may be an aspect of their career they want to look at. If they're trying to develop as a leader, which is my specialist area, then there's a 360, you know, getting their own analysis, getting some feedback from all of those around them on how they're doing, but what they ideally what they can work on. It may be a strength that needs to be developed and capitalized on better. It may be that they need to change something if they're going to become more successful. Ideally, you want to set up a real stretch goal or stretch outcome so that your client is showing that they need to get out of their comfort zone to make the change. So have a discussion, clarify the purpose. You know, what is this really for? What is it you really, really want to get from this whole process? Nail it down, define it at the outset. And if you can, try to put a dollar value on that. Try and work out what that's worth in retention, in you know, the bottom line for the organization, in the value in the relationships, in bringing out the best in other people, whatever it may be. What actually is the value that they're looking for from all of this? It's hard for us to define this, but if you can get the client in that mindset of really being disciplined about thinking about the outcomes, what the real purpose they're looking for and what that's worth to them, it's good to have that conversation at the outset, record it, and come back to it regularly. I'll say more about that in the next little clip on tracking return on investment. Believe me, it's not a sexy subject, but it is so crucial in the coaching engagement. So once more, over to you.